Icon Audio Arts.
What follows is an appreciation for this work from Dude Dehadi Baba himself. For many years I have subsisted only on pure, fresh, raw milk from the pastoral countryside of Nepal where I chiefly reside. I drink 1 cup of hot milk, boiled 3 times with a dash of honey, in the morning and 1 in the evening. Beyond that, I take nothing, no food, no water. I do this as I am a yogi, having practiced bhakti or devotion in the Vaishnava tradition. People are amazed that my constant application of the yogic process these many years has freed me from the need to eat. The ancient tradition of austerity or tapasya is found in the Vedic scriptures, which all serious practitioners must look to in pursuance of a truly spiritual life. As important as to the particulars of why I don't eat, however, is the fact I have chosen milk as my sole source of physical sustenance. Milk is the pure spiritual nectar of the holy mother cow, or Gomata. Throughout India and Nepal, those who follow the yogic ideal revere the humble cow above and beyond any citizen of the animal kingdom. In fact, we regard this simple, helpful creature as one of the mothers of mankind. These days, many advocate a vegetarian diet without taking milk, or indeed any product produced from it. This, it seems, stems from their laudable dedication to a purely non-violent, non-exploitive lifestyle. While we applaud the sentiment, the eternal reality of the spiritual superiority of milk is beyond any mundane fashion of this modern world. Throughout Asia, it is still perfectly possible to glean good, clean, healthful milk from consistently non-violent sources. This is the path we recommend to those interested in spiritualizing their lives. We therefore urge all such persons to work together to find a way to solve the problem of the West's heartless factory farming and enthusiastically take up our ancient Vedic system of reliance upon the cow. As regards Srimati Vrnda Devi, her work is a reflection of the deeply spiritual, simple life she lives as a dedicated devotee of Bhagavan Sri Krishna. For decades now, she has carefully followed the instructions of her revered spiritual master, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and in the process has been transformed into a consistent power for good in this often sad and heartless world. By embracing the philosophy and spirit of compassionate cuisine, any person of goodwill will likewise be transported to a new world of infinite possibilities and ever-increasing reverence for the golden circle of life which surrounds us. Sitaram. Dude Dehadi Baba, Ram Mandir, Pasupatinath, Kathmandu, Nepal. Introduction by Vrnda Devi. Blessed is he who joys and grieves, who wears the coat the rainbow weaves. The fallen leaves that jewel the ground, they know the art of dying, and leave with joy their glad gold hearts in the scarlet shadows lying. I used to search for happiness. I used to follow pleasure. But I found a door behind my mind, and that's the greatest treasure. I met a man whose name was Time, and he said, I must be going. But just how long ago that was, I have no way of knowing. From October Song, Robin Williamson, The Incredible String Band. Amidst the din of our busy lives, There is a deep pull, tugging on us to open up to the subtle realm of divine being, which silently permeates the core of everything. As the years slip by, it is important to look as deeply as possible into one's empiric experience to try to realize this bigger, grander self amongst the many selves that make up the complex, onion skin, soul car self in which we ride from cradle to grave. After many years on this path, I understand that real, palpable, innate spirituality is available to us every second if we simply lay down our prejudices and open up to it. Beyond that, you can help this wonderful spiritual river flow by consciously bringing into your life a buffet of goodness, compassion, and concern so all-encompassing that everyone you encounter will be somehow touched by the deep magnetism and quiescence you radiate. As the Maharishi once said, "For the forest to be green, each tree must be green." I promise you, any and all work you do on yourself will yield handsome dividends from the very first day you make the decision to uncover the deepest you by steadfastly forgetting yourself and living for others. Ethical vegetarianism and veganism, for example, is certainly a good way to start. It unburdens the poor animals, lightens your being significantly, assists the floundering planet, and brings you into the fold of an ancient tradition of free-flowing spirit, untainted by any ism or limited earthbound ideal. We can only hope that this audiobook on the life of Dood Hari Baba will serve as an open door for you and your family to experience the ineffable, boundless bliss of once again joining the golden circle of life which binds us all together like pearls on a thread. Thank you so much for adding to the richness of our lives by allowing us into yours. We bow down to you all. Hari Om Tat Sat. Vrnda Devi, Shri International Guest House, Rishikesh, UP, India, Radhastami, 2002. Forward. Vrnda Devi Lighter Than Air. Dr. Timothy Leary. I first met Vrnda Devi at the other end of a telephone line, calling to inquire if I might be interested in meeting her husband Jagannatha Das, Jeffrey Giuliano, to discuss writing a book with him on the history of psychedelics. I was interested, profoundly so, but sadly, after several meetings with puffy New York publishers, a suitable deal could not be struck. The idea was dropped, but not, thankfully, the Quicksilver-friendly relationship between myself and the Dasa Devis. While I caroused chiefly and briefly with Jagannath, I did become modestly close to Miss Devi after talking with her extensively on the phone, via email, and then finally meeting up with her and Jagannath in New York. Back in the mid-'60s, when I first publicly suggested that a change in human consciousness was desperately needed for the fast-forward genesis of humankind, Vrnda was exactly the kind of self-confident, egoless, light being I had in mind. Not surprisingly, however, she achieved that rare state neither through the portal of psychedelics, mortal politics, or even via the Blakean road of excess philosophy. Rather, Devi became so unbearably light as to often float above the room from sofa to armchair to billiard table, untethered via a slow-moving 30-year one-pointed commitment to the timeless path of devotional yoga and selfless service. That vegetarianism, animal ethics, and across-the-board nonviolence is important both to her and us is unquestionable. But it is only one of the many compartments of concern within her expansive, tender heart. Still, there is an arena of other books by Devi yet to be written. Here, within her compassionate world of fresh veggies, cow protection, and ambitious global food giveaway schemes, is the fruit of her concentrated work regarding the philosophy, ethics, and culture of nonviolent, happy eating for all of us. In going through the first 3 chapters of this book in manuscript form, I was immediately swept into the slipstream of her careful logic and caring narrative on the basic equality of all life and the obvious superiority of a diet in which nothing or no one ever dies for one's dinner. That I have only occasionally kept to the strict vegetarian diet throughout my long circuitous life is now a matter of some regret as I stare into the eternity mirror before me and feel the tug of mean old Mr. Time on my coattails. Still, it's never too late to start living right, and Devi's fine work certainly inspires me to do so, whether in the end I become the kind of committed veggie being Vrnda would have me be or not. The fact that she has inspired me to at least try is a matter of deep appreciation. Sit down with her for 5 minutes, and she'll tell you plainly that if you don't have to kill, you shouldn't. That you are what you eat is a basic truism, and that life is a delicate, interconnected web which flows on within you and without you. Who am I to argue? Personally, I've always been more than ready to bow down with love and respect to any teacher I stumbled across who told the truth with conviction and thus lightened the unbearable burden of the consumer-driven Euro-empire builder's mentality that weighs so heavily upon us all. Vrnda Devi is certainly one of those. And so I bow down to her for her marriage to the good and light-filled aspirations of a realm of spirit beings, unfettered by time, space, or the karmic anchors which steadfastly keep our feet on the ground, while the angels fly around us, filled with the peace and joy of heaven. The more you tune into Devi's unique point of view, the lighter you seem to get. So listen up, eat your veggies, and fly away home. After almost 5 decades on Earth, there are only a few things I really know for sure and several others I strongly suspect. As to the eternality of the soul, my suspicions are that there is only one vast unlimited being who has divested a qualitative spark of himself in everything, thus giving impetus to all life. That tiny spark we call the soul. Back to the category of what I know for sure. If we as humans actually share such an imperishable divine spirit, then so must every bird, beast, aquatic, and insect. Therefore, equal concern, compassion, respect, and stewardship must be shown to each and every one of God's creations, irrespective of any bodily designation or cultural prejudice. In the West, we love our dogs and thus lavish them with every conceivable accoutrement of modern society, while the cow, who acts as the second mother of man, freely giving not only milk, but also a host of wonderful byproducts, including butter, cream, cheese, yogurt, and ice cream, is unilaterally bred in the most deplorable conditions, and then heartlessly slaughtered, only to satisfy some vague, acculturated societal taste, and, of course, fill the pockets of a few ruthless cattlemen intent upon making their living at the cost of these wonderful, wide-eyed, unquestionably helpful, loving creatures. Both my wife and I, who have basically been together since we were kids, realized this quite independently as pre-teens. Since that time, our youthful convictions have become not only a way of life for our children, grandchildren, and close friends, but also a timely cause to be espoused, publicized, and sacrificed for, to the degree that we as two ordinary people can do. Our personal concept of eternity depends on it. As children, we were all taught not only that Jesus loved the little animals, but that we should too. Reminders of that primary tenet were everywhere. Trips to local petting zoos, stories read aloud of happy baby bunnies, goats, chicks, and pigs. Hands-on lessons in kitty care, and of course, unabashed dog-loving. But surprisingly, all that deep love and respect for life suddenly fizzled at dinner when we sat down to whatever dead bits Mom had on offer from the local market. That great cultural disconnect continued unchallenged until people started confronting the basic humanity of this heartless ideal after the hippies first hit around 1965, and a few of the more charismatic Indian gurus held forth on the underlying unity of all life to the wide-eyed boomers who humbled and stumbled at their holy feet. Trendy slogans like "You are what you eat" and "Don't eat anything with a face" skipped around the planet as entrepreneurial hipsters opened up appealing veggie restaurants in college towns across America. So many years later, you can easily eat vegan on airplanes or buy tofu pups in just about any supermarket. And now a new generation has embraced the basic common sense of eating low on the food chain while philosophically shooting for the stars. I once worked as an actor portraying both the marvelous, magical Burger King and Ronald McDonald for the twin forces of corporate-mandated animal genocide, doing business under the banner of good value and family fun. My position is that they offer neither, by flogging their murderous fare to the experience-hungry youth of the world. It is a shame, deepened with each bloody burger sold and every thoughtless bite taken by the consumer. Innocent in the beginning, perhaps, but now, after so much rolling rhetoric out there on animal ethics and the medical perils of a flesh-based diet, we would hope people might soon come around to the view that in the sweet abundance of life that surrounds us, there is no longer any place for the propagation of our parents' staid meat and potatoes manifesto. Let's try and define life, our lives, by a deep, unconditional love, rather than succumbing to the one-eyed monster of avarice marauding through our culture, overturning young lives and souring old ones by numbing us to the needless suffering of our fellow creatures in the name of simple commerce. In the end, it is fairly easy to see that quite a bit of what we currently covet here in America really adds up to nothing when held up against our values of love, compassion, and the innate beauty of all life. Sometimes, for a joke, I tell people who wonder about my very public stance as an ethical vegetarian that as a man of so few ethics, I must zealously hold on to the few that I've managed to corral in my life. All kidding aside, this is painfully true. Now, so many years later, I am not especially happy about owning up to the many dimly lit corners of my rather convoluted life, and to be frank, I suspect it's the same with many of you. Well, here in the cool, clear lake of spiritual vegetarianism is a last shining chance to finally get ourselves clean of the past. As for Srimati Vrnda Devi Dasi, my good lady wife of lo these many years, I can say this. Here is a person who has rather effortlessly risen above a very difficult early life to become one of the most natural, loving, dedicated people I have ever met. Like the swan, Vrnda knows the secret of carefully separating pure milk from the dirtiest of waters. She is a pure heart, free of the necessity of elaborate rituals to discern the inner presence of God. She is a loving mother to everyone she meets and an egoless sister to the extended world family she seeks to serve. In short, you are in very good hands. Think carefully about what Miss Devi has to say, as the implications are as far-reaching as the outer limits of your very self and those of your family. Here is a singular golden opportunity to make a powerful, positive difference in our troubled world. There are so many things that we as people feel powerless to affect. War, environmental problems, mass starvation, to name but a few. But here is a chance to at last make a bold statement, to confirm the oneness of all life and give the gift of caring to the next generation of young souls looking for their own answers. Finally, it is high time to say no to the killing of these humble innocents and yes to the obvious truth of nonviolent, natural living. Amidst the often overwhelming, unthinking, pro-meat-eating forces of the world, the vegetarian lifestyle is rapidly gaining monumental support in some of the oddest places. Case in point, the Victor Valley Correctional Facility in California. In an effort to stem the rising tide of unrest and violence within the prison, officials have made the remarkable decision to cut out all meat, fish, and eggs from the inmates' diet and substitute a lacto-vegetarian menu with special emphasis on using fresh vegetables grown by the prisoners themselves. Now, I'll admit that's a pretty tough way to get a decent meal, but if you've got to be in prison, which in some sense we all are, obviously this is certainly the one to be in. By the way, my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, asked everyone to recite this prayer upon entering the kitchen to cook, so I thought I'd pass it on. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. The cow and its male counterpart, the bull, are indispensable in rural India, wherein 80% of the population lives. For the Indian villager, the conservation of natural resources is an integral part of daily survival. He is expert in using nature's gifts to satisfy all his needs, from his mud hut to his homespun clothes. The cow, asking little and giving much, is a prime source, and every homestead has at least one. Eating only grass, the cow happily produces far more milk than her calf requires. Her overabundance can supply virtually all of the nutrients our bodies need. Cow dung. Each animal produces some 1,500 liquid tons per year, serves as an inexpensive fertilizer. Stored in underground tanks, it generates methane gas to use for heating and cooking. In any village, one will see cow dung patties drying in the sun to provide an excellent fuel for cooking fires. Cow dung also works as a disinfectant and is also used as a cleansing agent. The urine of the cow is prescribed as a medicine for the liver by the Ayurveda. Likewise, the bull is an invaluable asset to the small farmer. The strong beast can work all day pulling a plow through the fields. The bull may be slower than modern machinery, but it does not compress the soil and thus reduce its productivity as severely. There are other problems with machinery in India, including its inability to cope with seasonal floods and monsoons, and the difficulty of finding spare parts or even a mechanic. Because the bull helps provide food reliably, without complaint, he is considered a father to man. It is quite clear that a living cow yields society more good than a dead one in the form of a continuing supply of milk, cheese, butter, yogurt, and other high-protein foods. In 1971, the University of Mussoorie conducted a detailed study of cows in Bengal and found that far from depriving humans of food, they ate only inedible remains of harvested crops, rice hills, tops of sugarcane, for example, and grass. The cattle therefore convert items of little direct human value into products of immediate utility. This should put to rest the myth that people are starving in India because they will not kill the cow. Interestingly, India recently seems to have surmounted its food problems, which have always had more to do with the occasional severe drought or political upheaval than with sacred cows. A panel of experts at the Agency for International Development, in a statement cited in the Congressional Record for December 2, 1980, concluded, India produces enough to feed all of its people. If allowed to live, cows produce high-quality, protein-rich foods in amounts that stagger the imagination. In America, there is a deliberate attempt to limit dairy production. Nevertheless, Representative Sam Gibbons of Florida recently reported to Congress that the U.S. government was being forced to stockpile mountains of butter, cheese, and non-fat dry milk. He told his colleagues, "We currently own about 440 million pounds of butter, 545 million pounds of cheese, and about 765 million pounds of non-fat dried milk. The supply grows by about 45 million pounds each week. In fact, the 10 million cows in America provide so much milk that the government periodically releases millions of pounds of dairy products for free distribution to the poor and hungry." Liquid Religion, The Wonder of Milk, by His Holiness Dood Dhari Baba. The Vedas say, cow eats grass, cow gives milk, cow makes a miracle. Cattle have faithfully and lovingly served mankind since the dawn of civilization. Historical evidence suggests that cows were first domesticated in the Middle East as early as 9000 BC. Pictorial evidence on cave walls in the Egyptian Sahara and ancient Mesopotamia depicts early inhabitants of those areas actually milking cows. Recently, scientists discovered milk residue on pottery dating from 300 BC, the first concrete evidence of dairying in that ancient society. It was on the Indian subcontinent, the cradle of ethical vegetarianism, however, where man's deepest relationship with the cow firmly took root. As Bhaktivedanta Swami explains, Vedic culture accords mother superior status to the cow because of its great benefits to humanity. While the human mother can suckle her own child for only a year or two, humans depend on cow's milk for the rest of their lives for their ongoing health and vitality. Nowhere else was milk so highly prized than in southern Asia, some 5 millennia ago, when the Aryan immigrants who brought with them Vedic culture first discovered and utilized milk's full potential of butter, yogurt, and cheese. Milk, known in the Vedas writing as tija, or illuminating, was the healthy, satisfying centerpiece of the Aryans' diet and was used in countless dishes. Taken hot, the beverage was found to rid the body of excess bile and mucus, while cold milk was fortifying, though difficult to digest. Knowing well the value of fresh raw milk, the Aryans drank it while still warm and rarely kept it for more than 24 hours. They quickly discovered that to avoid contamination, milk could be sterilized by heating. This process, too, made it much easier to digest. Nothing went to waste. They even used the milk remnants, whey and choc, buttermilk, to nourish their livestock. This early Central Asian culture uncovered an extremely wide-ranging medicinal value in cow's milk. It provided a rich tonic for both premature babies and the aged, and it lent strength and endurance to athletes, most notably wrestlers. The milk of a red or brown-spotted bovine was alleged to cure anemia, uterine disorders, and depression. The benefits and pitfalls of cow's milk, the Aryans further found, depended on both age and condition. Milk from a calf, for instance, proved a sweet tonic, while milk from an aging or pregnant animal could cause dehydration and throat problems. The highest quality of milk occurred 3 weeks after calving and was believed to energize the consumer. Milk from a mother whose calf had died, however, was to be strictly avoided. This simple, high-thinking agrarian culture quickly found yet another benefit of cow keeping: manure. As a fertilizer, cow dung was highly prized for both its high nutrient content and rapid stabilization of the soil. Thus, Vedic society implemented a host of creative uses for cow stool, finding it both an effective antiseptic and natural antibacterial. They also discovered that the smoke from dung fires effectively repelled flies and mosquitoes. Even more invaluable was dried dung, which produced methane gas for an odorless, slow, and even cooking fuel. Manure was also found to be a superb insulator, known as gover, when applied to the outside walls of homes, keeping heat out in the oppressive summer times and holding it in during the frigid winter. In the words of Mohandas K. Gandhi, "Mother Cow is in many ways better than the mother who gave us birth. Our mother gave us milk for a couple of years and then expects us to serve her when we grow up. But Mother Cow expects nothing of us but grass and grain. Our mother often falls ill and expects service from us, but Mother Cow rarely falls ill. Our mother, when she dies, expects expenses for burial and cremation, but Mother Cow is as useful dead as when alive." For 5,000 years, the cow has played a central role in the Vedic ideal of a life close to the earth, nature, and spirit. For 5,000 years, the cow has played a central role in the Vedic ideal of a life close to the earth, nature, and spirit. Vedic society recognized the rare symbiotic relationship that exists between cow and man. According to India's scriptural history, the original cow, Mother Surabhi, was one of the treasures churned from the cosmic ocean. And the 5 products of the cow, Panchagaya, milk, curd, ghee, urine, and dung, were all considered purifying. For those and other reasons, the Vedic lexicon offers 9 names for the cow, 3 of which: Aganya, not to be killed; Ahi, not to be killed; and Aditi, not to be cut, specifically forbid slaughter. These synonyms for cow are found throughout the Vedic literatures and are summarized in the epic Mahabharata. The very name of the cows indicates that they should never be slaughtered. Who then would slay them? Simply one who kills a cow or a bull commits the most heinous crime. In Vedic literature, Krishna, the original manifestation of Vishnu, appears as a young cowherd. His name, Govinda, means one who tends the cows. Krishna's community had hundreds of thousands of cows and was described as very rich. The townspeople paid their taxes to the king with dairy products, ghee, cheese, and whole milk, and would barter these products for cloth and other items in the market. According to the Mahabharata, the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, is present in both the urine and manure of the cow. The intrinsic value of this benevolent, cud-chewing ruminant, true to Vedic philosophical tradition, lies in its ability to combine the physical with the transcendent. According to Stephen Rosen, a renowned Vedic scholar and author of some 16 best-selling books on Indian culture, including Food for the Spirit, Indian scriptures refer to milk as liquid religion for 2 primary reasons. First, milk comes from the cow, the animal, which is so dear to Lord Krishna and all the Vaishnavas, those who worship their higher power as the supreme original person, are very conscious of this connection in their daily lives. Milk is also called liquid religion because it is believed to aid in the finer development of the brain. With finer brain tissues, one is more likely to understand the special, subtle, spiritual purpose of life. The celebrated late 20th century Vedic philosopher, social reformer, author, and theologian, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, wrote and lectured on the subject profusely. The protection of cows, he once commented, ensures the most miraculous form of food, milk, for maintaining the finer tissues of the brain, for understanding the higher aims of life. A child lives on milk, and thus many saintly persons also live by drinking milk. Milk is very important to human society as it supplies all necessary vitamins. Living cows are clearly one of mankind's most valuable food resources. Milk has often been called nature's perfect food. Along with honey, it is the only substance in nature whose sole function is nourishment. Raw, unprocessed cow's milk is an oil and water emulsion composed of 87% water, 3.9% milk fat, and 8.8% additional solids, including complete proteins and carbohydrates. Milk also contains vitamins A, C, D, and B complex, and all 22 minerals. As for the lofty pronouncements of milk as a brain food, once again, biochemistry supports this ancient Indian ideal. Milk contains several essential polyunsaturated fatty acids that humans cannot manufacture. Linoleic acid, manufactured in the cow's rumen stomach, is especially crucial to early fetal and infant neurological development, particularly from the first trimester up to the age of 18 months, wherein the brain tissue grows. Milk fat is equally important to children and adults for honing fine motor skills. Milk also contains generous amounts of the amino acid tryptophan, nature's most effective sedative. While millions pop over-the-counter concoctions and fill prescriptions for potentially harmful and addictive sleeping pills, a glass of warm milk at bedtime is so effective it even has the endorsement of the National Institute of Mental Health. Associate Dr. Julius Siegel conducted extensive sleep studies and found that volunteers who had a cup of hot milk fell asleep more quickly, slept more soundly, and spent more time than usual in the REM phase of sleep, awakening feeling refreshed and energetic. The wonder of milk also lies in its amazing versatility. Its most nutritious byproduct, yogurt, is simply milk which has been allowed to ferment. Yogurt dates back 4,000 years to the Middle East, where nomadic desert peoples first utilized the fermenting process to preserve their milk. In the United States, yogurt came into favor during the 1960s and continues to grow in popularity. Today, a full 30% of the world's population consumes yogurt regularly. The American per capita consumption is now some 4.3 pounds a year. The most effective organic yogurt starter contains not 2, but 3 active bacterial cultures. Mohandas Gandhi heartily advocated the use of yogurt in his book, Diet Reform. The beneficial bacteria, or friendly flora, in yogurt's lactic acid content enables the body to digest a full 90% of it in an hour. Comparatively, a scant 30% of milk is metabolized in an hour. Sue Gilbert, a noted nutritionist at the University of Vermont, states, "There are several reliable studies to show that yogurt made with cow's milk greatly boosts the immune system and reduces allergic symptoms as well as the incidence and duration of colds." Scientists at the University of California at Davis confirmed that societies who consume large quantities of yogurt have a greater reserve of gamma interferon, a cellular protein produced in response and acting to prevent the spread of viral infections, an important aid to a stronger immune system. Yogurt is a prime source of protein, fat, and calcium. When there is no food taken during the night, 10 p.m. to 7 a.m., the normal blood level of calcium must be maintained. This is obtained by the withdrawal of calcium from the bones. Thus, the bones may eventually become porous. This is an insidious process that may cause problems as early as 40 or even before. One way of overcoming this condition is to take a cup of yogurt before retiring. As you get older, increase to 1.5 cups at bedtime. Yogurt is also said to help heal ulcers, yeast infections, and numerous digestive disorders. At only 15 calories per ounce, plain, unprocessed yogurt is truly a health eater's dream. In fact, an ancient word for yogurt means life. The acclaimed Russian-born Nobel Prize-winning microbiologist Metchnikoff was the first to study the long lifespans of the Bulgarian population and to offer a correlation to their heavy consumption of yogurt. Bulgarians eat yogurt at least once a day and boast more people over 100 than anyone in the world, followed closely by their cultural relatives in parts of Russia, the Balkans, and Armenia. In the Republic of Korea, yogurt is so central to the diet that the country's geriatric population consumes 200 grams daily, along with 200 milliliters of milk and 100 grams of cheese. Few simple delicacies are better than homemade yogurt mixed with fresh strawberries, cherries, or blueberries. The Greeks, for instance, are famous for their honeyed yogurt with figs and pine nuts. For a universally hailed fast and simple yogurt cream cheese, add 2 teaspoons of live yogurt to 1 cup of milk and let it sit in a warm place for several hours. Then strain the liquid out through a cheesecloth for a nutritious and delicious spread. Another bonus of yogurt made from unpasteurized milk is the delectable crust that forms on the milk's surface, called malai. Cheese is made by coagulating milk to produce curds. They are separated from the whey, and the new curds are cut into small cubes, heated, condensed, and allowed to mat together in large slabs. The slabs are then milled and salted to provide flavor and help preserve the cheese. The coagulating process, or curdling, is accomplished by adding rennet. What separates vegetarian cheeses from others is using rennet from fungal or bacterial sources instead of animal-based rennet derived from the stomach of calves. In the past, fig leaves, wild thistle, melon, and safflower all supplied excellent curdling rennet. Vegetarian cheeses offer a delicious, bountiful array of both soft and hard varieties, fresh ones like quark, cottage and cream cheeses, and ripened ones like brie and camembert. In the steamy climate of India, however, the cheese of choice is the unripened, easy-to-prepare paneer. Cheese in general is an excellent source of protein, calcium, zinc, and vitamin B12. Its low lactose content makes it easy to digest for just about everyone. More varieties, however, can be high in saturated fat, so it is advisable to consume any cheese only in moderation. Even more important, make sure that any cheese you buy at the supermarket is made only from non-violent vegetable rennet. Whey, the natural liquid byproduct of both butter churning and cheese, is mentioned even in a nursery rhyme. Little Miss Muffet sat on a tuffet eating her curds and whey. Whey consists of water, milk, and sugar. It is by and large greatly underused. Whey is a complete, efficient protein with all amino acids. The liquid aids in the dispersion of milk, and only 100 grams of whey contains a whopping 770 million grams of calcium. Whey also reduces hunger, making it excellent for dieters. When it comes to finding healthy, effective, and tasty cooking oil, look no further than the ever-versatile ghee, the golden essence of milk. Ghee is made by skimming the cream from milk, churning the cream into butter, and then slowly heating the butter until all the water evaporates and the protein solids separate. It is an unrefined, naturally pure product, free from bleaching, additives, or preservatives of any kind. Because of its amazing resistance to spoilage, ghee does not even require refrigeration. Some preserved ghee was found in a 5,000-year-old Egyptian tomb, as fresh and sweet as the day it was made. Stored in a cool, dry cupboard, ghee will last indefinitely. Ghee will not smoke even when heated to extreme temperatures because the water which begins to evaporate at 212 degrees Fahrenheit and protein solids which burn off at 250 degrees Fahrenheit have been removed. So besides from being excellent for enhancing the flavors of simple cooked food, ghee is absolutely ideal for sautéing and braising, as well as both shallow frying and deep frying. Ghee provides several essential nutrients, antioxidants, and vitamins, including vitamins A, D, E, and K. No other oil contains vitamin A, with the exception of fish oil. Ghee is universally recognized as being more easily digestible than any other fat or oil because its melting point is lower than the body's normal temperature. Eating 1 or 2 teaspoons of ghee per day greatly increases digestive power and assists in the assimilation of other foods. It relieves constipation when taken with warm milk and is said to alleviate chronic fever, anemia, and various blood disorders. It is used to detoxify the body, to promote the healing of wounds, and to alleviate peptic ulcers and colitis. Research has shown that it will not raise the cholesterol level in your blood. Throughout the ages, this valuable, purified butter was a symbol of wealth and prestige in Indian culture, serving both nutritional and spiritual purposes. The ancient Vedantists enjoyed ghee's distinctive, faintly sweet, delicate, nutty flavor as an irresistible accompaniment to everyday foods. According to the Ayurveda, properly prepared ghee nourishes both the bone marrow and the brain. This precious golden oil, it is said, gives sustenance to the fire of the mind and thus promotes the flame of intelligence and perception. As such, it is an important tonic for both the brain and nervous system. Likewise, during ancient Vedic ceremonies, particularly those of marriage and spiritual initiation, guests literally poured the superlative clarified butter by the ton into sacrificial fires, while learned saints melodiously chanted timeless Sanskrit mantras. Used externally, ghee has many further benefits. Indians have long incorporated the substance into rejuvenating massages, and just a daily dab of the precious butter makes an excellent eye tonic and is even known to cure many visual complaints. Ayurvedic scholar and renowned chef Harish Johari lauds milk as nectar for the human organism. One of the best elixirs, milk provides energy as soon as it goes down the throat. Not only does it provide all the ingredients needed for the continued growth and development of the human organism, it also provides the vital life force of Ohas, the bestower of longevity. In Eastern medicine, particularly the Ayurveda, milk's role in restoring good health is paramount. Ayurvedic science holds that disease is a signal of the imbalance of the 3 doshas, the body's circulatory, digestive, and nervous systems. Illness occurs from a buildup of toxins and impurities caused by variants such as stress, poor diet, and lack of exercise. Milk, with its terrific neutralizing and diuretic qualities, can thereby benefit and even perhaps cure a host of infirmities. To best attack disease, Ayurvedic and homeopathic practitioners alike advocate a milk fast or kalpa. Fresh milk is taken exclusively for a period of 2 weeks to 40 days to combat an umbrella of complaints, from wrinkles to constipation. Kalpas are especially good for nervous and emotional disorders and are also used to treat diabetes, liver and stomach ulcers, and even cancerous growths. According to the ancient sages, milk is not only sustaining but life-extending as well. According to Ayurvedic philosophy, premature aging is due to inefficient digestion caused by waste material which collects on the walls of the intestines. These deposits block the flow of vital nutrients to the organs and thus hasten the aging process, bringing on such old age complaints as arthritis, gout, and impotence. Milk fasts flush out these waste products and thereby revitalize the body. Milk kalpas should never be used to treat heart disease. However, because milk doesn't flow through veins and arteries, it acts as a purifying agent. Further, milk fasts are thus not recommended for elderly individuals, weak or post-operative patients. Although milk has been a staple for centuries in many civilizations, it is Americans who have really made it an ongoing love affair, consuming some 58 million liquid tons every year. Those who lived during the first half of the 20th century fondly recall visits from the milkman 2 or 3 times a week. He would deposit quaint 1-quart bottles in a metal storage box on the front stoop to keep them cold. The lucky consumer would awaken to rich, textured milk with a layer of golden cream floating on top. Today, milk production and delivery has become big business. The heartless atrocity which occurs daily from stable to table has exposed the worst of Western factory farms and dairies. The downfall of this once wholesome staple can be traced to the American Industrial Revolution, when man began experimenting with the first of what would become many adulterating processes in the production of milk: pasteurization. In 1864, French scientist Louis Pasteur discovered that heating the raw liquid to 143 degrees Fahrenheit for 30 minutes, then cooling it down to 50 degrees Fahrenheit, killed many harmful microbes, chiefly bacteria. Pasteurization became standard in commercial production in 1897, when it was believed tuberculosis could be transmitted through milk. Given milk's heat sensitivity, manufacturers were quick to notice pasteurization's benefits in ensuring a longer shelf life. This new process, however, was akin to throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Heating not only alters milk's unique texture and flavor, but destroys its many nutrients and the vital enzymes needed to break down its natural sugars. The Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, decided to restore vitamins A and D artificially. Yet excessive amounts of the fat-soluble vitamin D can cause toxicity. Commercial milk has been found to contain some 500 times the required dose. Pasteurization is profoundly problematic. Bacteria double every 20 minutes at room temperature. They double every 20 hours at 40 degrees Fahrenheit, the standard refrigerator temperature. Yet the FDA allows 20,000 bacteria per milliliter in grade A milk. In the Northwest, one well-known dairy giant once recalled some 270,000 cases of dairy products infected with the disease-causing bacteria Salmonella, E. coli, Strep, and Listeria. Having mechanized production and increased shelf life, the race was on to increase production to as much as the market could bear. Equally disturbing and downright unconscionable has been the rise of factory farms. Corporate farming sees cows as milking machines, not gentle living creatures with the right to be humanely and responsibly treated. At Rutgers University law professor Dr. Francione lamented, "I realized there's even more suffering in a glass of milk. Cows are no longer put out to pasture on nourishing grassland. Instead, they are kept indoors and fed starchy, high-energy grains grown with toxic chemical fertilizers. They are sprayed with pesticides, leading to the contamination of their feed and water. The resulting waste seeps into rivers and further contaminates water supplies." In order to keep the crowded cows healthy, dairy farmers ward off infection by giving their animals massive doses of antibiotics. The result has been the rise of several drug-resistant strains of bacteria, a threat to both animals and humans. To ensure a continuous milk supply, cows are artificially inseminated and kept pregnant to produce a calf every year, a highly stressful and unnatural condition. Because bigger is better and certainly more profitable, companies have begun using synthetic growth hormones in an effort to increase animal size and milk production. The most common is bovine growth hormone BGH, a drug used to increase levels of insulin-like growth factors IGF-1, a hormone which cows naturally produce in small amounts. The average cow produces 8 to 10 gallons of milk per day in nature. Hormonal injections of BGH increase its milk flow to 100 gallons, 10 times as much. Thus, the super cow is born. Once again, this biotechnical tampering has opened a perilous Pandora's box. BGH use places the animals under incredible stress, renders many of them infertile, and causes mastitis, a serious infection that can leave pus residue in the milk. Pumping out so much milk depletes calcium supplies, resulting in lameness often to the point of collapse, as well as the convulsive disease milk fever. Even worse, a host of production diseases have arisen, including bovine immune deficiency virus and John's disease, the deadly bovine counterpart to the serious human digestive disorder, Crohn's disease. At least 20% of dairy cows, and in some herds 60%, are afflicted with bovine leukemia. Of the many diseases, however, none is more alarming than the notorious mad cow disease. It is a fatal brain infection caused by cattle consuming contaminated animal part supplements, meat and bone meal. What is theorized to be a mutant protein transmitted through blood has caused some 20 human deaths and wiped out half of Britain's dairy herd, along with many rare zoo animals and domestic cats. Could this, at last, be a final wake-up call for a beef-eating mankind? For humans, highest on the food chain, it is a similarly challenging scenario. High levels of the dangerous growth hormone are found in gigantism, a disorder that causes excessive growth of the head, face, hands, and feet. Those afflicted show evidence of tumors in the colon. Even a small increase in insulin factor 1 is a known risk factor for breast and prostate cancers. This insidious hormone has been banned in nearly every country in the world except the United States. The combined powers of the dairy industry, the FDA, and pharmaceutical companies, and even the American Medical Association block BGH labeling from the product and thereby keep the public in blissful ignorance. As bad as these docile female creatures have fared under the factory farm system, it is even worse for the young bull. The modern milk industry has made the male calves a strict liability. Baby males, considered a byproduct of the dairy industry, are hauled away from their mothers shortly after birth. They will spend 16 months in cramped, dark, wooden crates before being slaughtered for the pale beef delicacy known as veal. It is a heartless and bloody business, to say the least. I remember as a child going to a petting zoo and enjoying the farm animals. When our visit was over, my dad said, "Okay, let's all go out for a burger." And off we trekked, without another thought to the nearest hamburger joint. Shannon Letts of the Grateful Acres Animal Sanctuary in Otsego, Michigan, says that this compartmentalizing allows people to continue their behavior under the guise of a clear conscience. She says, "I believe that people deny the suffering of farm animals because if they were to acknowledge and participate in it by continuing to eat meat, they would be hypocrites. In other words, we are responsible for what we know. Therefore, if we admit to the suffering of farm animals, then we are responsible for our part in that suffering if we continue to eat them." For those who are not ready to stop eating animals, it is easier just to deny any knowledge of the plight they endure. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada's clear warning seems especially prudent today. Modern civilization has created a society meant for killing cows, eating meat, and maintaining cruel slaughterhouses in the name of society, culture, and religion. With this going on, how can we ever be happy? This is a most sinful activity, and one has to suffer for that. It is the duty of human society to see that cows are always very happy. We are stewards of this fragile planet and must show even more care over those weaker and more vulnerable than us. Albert Einstein likewise commented, "Our task must be to widen our circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature in its beauty." Nowhere, though, have these tenets been more eloquently expressed than by Mohandas K. Gandhi. In 1927, the lauded Indian leader placed cow protection on an equal plane with his nonviolent political philosophy, thus making him the 20th century's first true animal rights activist. Wrote Gandhi, "The greatness of a nation and its moral progress can be judged by the way its animals are treated. In my opinion, the economic side of the cow question, if properly handled, automatically provides for the delicate religious side. Cow slaughter should and can be made economically impossible, whereas, unfortunately, of all places in the world, it is the sacred animals of the Hindu which have become the cheapest for slaughter. To this end, I suggest the following. The state should buy every cow offered for sale in the open market by outbidding all buyers. The state should run dairies in all principal towns, thus ensuring a cheap, consistent supply of milk and all non-violent byproducts. The state should run tanneries, where the hides, bones, etc. of all dead cattle in its possession may be utilized. They should also offer to buy all privately owned dead cattle. The state should keep model cattle farms, goshalas, and instruct people in the art of humanely breeding and keeping cattle. There should be a separate department created for this purpose, and no profit should be made, so that people may receive the full benefit of every improvement that might be made in the different breeds of cattle and other matters pertaining to them. The foregoing, of course, presupposes that the state maintain all old, maimed, and diseased cattle. This, no doubt, constitutes a heavy burden, but it is a burden which all states, but above all, a Hindu state, should gladly bear. My own extended study of the question leads me to think the running of non-violent scientific dairies and tanneries would enable the state to cover the expense of the upkeep of cattle that have become economically useless, apart from the manure that they yield, and to sell things at market rates, leather goods, milk products, and the many other things which can be manufactured from dead cattle. The mid-90s economic reforms of Indian Prime Minister P.V. Narasimha Rao were hailed by many in the West as an attempt to eradicate that country's values of animal protection, reverence for the cow, and cultural vegetarianism. On March 28, 1996, the Vishva Hindu Prashad pledged to make a general election issue of cow slaughter in response to the mad cow disease scare. This alarming state of affairs has given vegans plenty of artillery against those who would choose a lacto-vegetarian diet. While I heartily applaud their sustained efforts against all forms of animal cruelty, with respect, I believe now raw, unprocessed, untainted cow's milk, quite frankly, has gotten a raw deal. Science is just now beginning to unlock the milk myths and uncover the many truths about nature's wholesome gift to man. Let's examine the facts. First, the big controversy continues to swirl around lactose, milk's offending sugar. Human babies are born with plenty of lactase, the enzyme needed to break lactose down, but after the age of 3 they begin to lose it, resulting in lactose intolerance. Symptoms ranging from diarrhea, headaches, congestion, and even colitis have fueled an entire industry for lactase products. I have a friend who's been a self-proclaimed milkaholic nearly his entire life. As a child, he loved milk above and beyond any other drink, and thus often drank over half a gallon per day. By this time, he was in university, and the concomitant effects of such ill-advised consumption were already manifesting in a series of unpleasant symptoms, which included occasional diarrhea as well as severe abdominal cramps. Since switching to raw milk, however, a couple of years back, the situation has completely reversed itself, and although these days he's cut back quite a bit, He also enjoys a thick, frothy glass of milk at least once a day. By the way, several saffron strands or a few boiled basil leaves added to milk will make it even more digestible. Where nature leaves off, the cow takes over. Clean, untampered milk contains phosphates, which permit the body to easily absorb calcium and the lactase necessary to digest lactose. Furthermore, raw milk contains the beneficial probiotic bacteria plus lactic acids that allow this good bacteria to implant itself in the intestines, ready and able to combat pathogenic microbes. Another recent debate implicated milk in type 1 juvenile diabetes. The theory holds that milk proteins spark an autoimmune reaction in sensitive children. Yet a 1996 study at the University of Colorado refutes previous findings that have pointed an accusing finger at cow's milk. Cow's milk has valuable nutrients and forms a critical part of the diet of infants and children throughout the world, says Dr. Desmond Schultz of the University of Florida's College of Medicine. Feeding practices which exclude cow's milk should not be adapted without a strong scientific indication, which has not yet been clearly established. Avoidance of cow's milk on the basis of increased diabetes should not be advised. 1 quart of raw milk satisfies a third of our daily protein requirements. Moreover, its quality is much higher than the protein from eggs and meat. The amino acids in this wholesome liquid are also vital for a healthy nervous system. When fresh milk isn't readily available, non-fat dry milk may be substituted for its high protein content. But what about the argument that milk's all-important calcium is better taken from green leafy vegetables? The beauty of milk is that it offers a much more concentrated form of this vital mineral. You'd have to eat a whopping kilogram of broccoli daily to get the same amount of calcium, 300 megs, in 1 glass of milk, which is 1/3 of the recommended daily allowance. Milk also supplies the vital minerals phosphorus, iodine, and iron, which enrich the blood and help maintain sharp vision. Even a trace of silver is found in milk. All of these minerals are easily broken down by the milk's abundant water content. Incidentally, cows are safely able to absorb an incredible amount of toxic materials in their systems. This amazingly efficient animal has been found to expel just 5% of pesticides like DDT and other harmful dioxins through their milk. Is it just a coincidence that before 1930 and the widespread introduction of commercially processed milk, it was rare to see coronary artery disease and breast and prostate cancers? Nutrition and science aside, vegan purists will quickly point out that humans are the only animals who drink milk past infancy. Dr. Karen Davis, noted animal activist and author, says, "Milk is the provision of food and immunity that is produced by the body of a female mammal for her nursing offspring. Milk, then, is literally a baby's food. Dairy products are every bit as much animal parts as meat, while in nature, animals exist for their own reasons, not for others." Yet the Venerable Bhaktivedanta Swami would turn that around. Cow milk is not really meant for the cow, but rather human beings. Adult cows do not drink milk, he adds. A cow delivers far more milk than is needed by the calf because milk was also intended for man. Part 2. How Krishna does his work. There is a certain kind of simple rice pudding they make in northern India called kheer. Normally speaking, it's everywhere, especially in Vrindavan, where I stay most of the time. Before I came to India, I was thinking how much I like it and looked forward to having it. I didn't find any in Delhi, however, where I spent the first few days of my pilgrimage. Then, to my complete surprise, where they make every kind of exotic milk sweet in the world, I couldn't even find it in Vrindavan. After a day or two, I forgot about it, overcome by the events of my life. Still, somewhere inside of me was this quiet, tiny, unfulfilled desire to enjoy this very special dessert, a favorite of Krishna's, I hasten to add. I moved on to my next station, which was Jaipur, Rajasthan. When I came to the temple where I was to stay, an old man called me over to a small room and invited me to sit down. I knew not why. He silently walked to the corner and uncovered a huge pot. Inside was fresh, cold, delicious kheer. The gentle yogi handed me a very large bowl, which I immediately ate like a hungry wolf. I put it down, and it was immediately filled up again by the old man. 3 times this happened. Finally, I had enough. It was then I understood just how Krishna fulfills even the smallest, most apparently insignificant desires of his devotees. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, I, dwelling in the heart, direct the wanderings of every living entity. So he did this day, directly to my secret unspoken quest for kheer in the heart of mystical India. Now I assure you, psychiatrists would term this as magical thinking. Indeed, I cannot agree more. Something to consider as you experience the wonderful magical world of Doodh Dhari Baba. To many in the West, the very idea of cow protection seems both antiquated and unnecessary. The committed lacto-vegetarian, however, would argue that it is neither, and it is in fact a societal imperative, central to the primary peace and prosperity of our steadily eroding collective culture. That the gentle giving cow has for thousands of years been a symbol of selfless cooperation between man and beast is without question. Despite her abundant gifts, however, her ultimate fate is both chilling and, in the wake of an abundant variety of near beef soy substitutes available, completely unnecessary. Still, there can be no true sanctuary for the cow until man understands that careful stewardship of this remarkable animal will further fortify our position as caretakers of this lonely planet and draw us closer into the web of oneness that is all life. What follows are a selection of both practical and poetic quotations on the primacy of cow protection from sources mostly well over 5,000 years old. They are included here in the hope the intuitive reader might experience some kind of last-minute epiphany on the recklessness of the rampant cow-killing which prevails in this lamentable, unthinking fast food society of ignoble commerce at all costs. When one considers the past condition of the Indian village agriculturalist, we can see how opulent he was, simply because of simple agricultural produce and his dedicated protection of cows. At present, however, agriculture having been neglected and cow protection given up, the farmer is suffering pitiably. When animals eat meat, they are following nature's law. When you eat meat, you are breaking that law. A tiger will never come and claim, "Oh, you've been given so much grain, please give me some." Even if there are hundreds of bags of grain, he doesn't care. But he'll certainly pounce upon an animal. This is his natural instinct. Why do you take grain, fruit, milk, meat, and whatever you find? You are missing your humanity. You should think, what is edible for me? A tiger may eat meat, but I am not a tiger. I am human. If I've enough grain, fruit, vegetables, why should I kill a poor animal? That is simple humanity. You are both animal and human. If you forget your humanity, then you are simply an animal. If one can live very peacefully in good health by eating so many varieties of foodstuffs given by God, why should you ever kill an animal? A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, 1968. So the system is this. The family keeps a big pot, and whatever milk is collected is kept there. It is warmed so all family members may drink it whenever they like. Whatever remains at night is then converted into yogurt. When there is sufficient old yogurt, they churn that into butter. Then they collect the water separated from the butter, which is called whey. Instead of dal, they use this whey to make their chapatis. This system is both very healthy, tasty, and economical. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, 1975. Basic rules for cow protection. 1. Cows and bulls must not be killed for any reason whatsoever. 2. Young cows must be allowed to suckle directly from their mother's udder until the natural weaning age of 7 to 10 months. 3. Cows must be hand-milked. 4. Bulls not engaged in a breeding program should be trained in a respectful manner and their natural abilities utilized in a meaningful way. 5. Bulls and cows should be fed only natural vegetation, grasses, grains, and other suitable vegetables. A cow produces an average of 10 times more milk than a calf can ever possibly consume. To deny humanity her milk is to deny that she really is our mother, and hence the possibility that we will have to treat her as such. It's the same with the bull. To deprive humanity of his labor is to obscure his natural relation to us as a father, who carefully tills the ground to provide us food. This is a grave error of religion without science, for as soon as man stops working the ox, he wants to kill him. It is no accident that the technology which produced the tractor also produced the slaughterhouse. Mangal Maharaj, 1991. Cow protection implies using oxen for farming. While Mother Cow provides milk, Father Bull provides grain for his human children and is a beloved member of society. One common objection to using animal power is that it takes a lot of people to produce grain this way. If we use a tractor, however, the argument goes, one person produces grain, and the rest are free to do other things. But free to do what? Free to work in hellish factories, to live in nightmarish cities, to eat the flesh of innocent animals, and run after an endless variety of artificial services and manufactured goods without ever becoming satisfied? That's not really freedom. It's becoming a slave to manufacturers and the senses. Farmers work hard, but at least they are free from the oppressive environment of the city. In Sanskrit, Goraksha means cow protection, but it can also mean protection of the earth, because the word go means both cow and earth. In the Srimad Bhagavatam there are several accounts in which Mother Earth, Bhumi Devi, assumes the form of a cow, so the cow is the representative of Mother Earth, and when the cow and bull are mistreated, Mother Earth withdraws her bounty. Vrnda Devi, 1992. Cow dung is a truly wonderful antiseptic. Not only is it free from bacteria, it does a very good job of killing it. India's cows produce more than 300 million tons of dung every year. Most of it is used as fertilizer, and some to prepare vibhuti or holy ash. In the villages, it is still the principal source of cooking fuel. Dried dung is odorless and produces a slow, even heat. Additionally, smoke from a dung fire keeps flies away, and it is a first-class mosquito repellent. Packed on the outside walls of a house, cow dung acts as an insulator, keeping heat out in the summer and holding it inside in the winter. Hinduism Today, April 1998. The cow, for instance, gives milk, but does not drink that milk. She eats grass and grain, but her milk is designed as food for human beings. Sri Ishopanishad, verse 1. Surabhi is the name of the transcendental cows of the spiritual planets, who are especially cared for by Sri Krishna himself. As men are made in the image of the Lord, cows are made after the form and features of the Surabhi cows of Vaikuntha. In the material world, society gives all protection to the human being, but there is no law protecting the descendants of Surabi. We should recognize the great importance of both the cow and bull, and thus afford all protection to these auspicious animals. Mangal Maharaj, 1998. There is a genuine miracle in milk, for it contains all the necessary vitamins to sustain human physiological conditions for higher achievements. Our culture can only advance when a man is educated to develop the quality of goodness, or satogun, and for this there is prime necessity of food prepared with milk, fruits, and grains. Srimad Bhagavatam 164. Even the poorest of householders keep at least 10 cows, each delivering 12 to 20 quarts of milk, 18 to 28 liters, and therefore no one hesitates to spare a few pounds of milk for the mendicates. Srimad Bhagavatam 1:19-39. Generally, a Brahmin, woman, child, old man or cow are never regarded as punishable. Srimad Bhagavatam 9:9-30. While herding the very beautiful cows and bulls, Krishna, who is the reservoir of all opulence and fortune, used to blow his flute, and thus enlivened his faithful followers, the cowherd boys. It is mentioned herein that the cows and bulls were of various checkered colors, red, black, green, yellow, ash, etc., and because of their colors and healthy smiling features, the atmosphere of Vrindavan was enlivening. Srimad Bhagavatam 3:2-29. The cows taken care of by Sri Krishna had different names, and he would call each with love. After hearing Krishna calling, the cows would immediately respond by mooing, and the boys would enjoy this exchange to their heart's content. Krishna Book, Chapter 15. It is very important to note how wealthy the inhabitants of Vrindavan were simply by raising cows. All the cowherd men belonged to the Vaishya community, and their business was to protect the cows and cultivate crops. By their dress and behavior, it appears that although they were in a small village, they were very rich in natural possessions. They possessed such an abundance of various kinds of milk products that they were throwing butter lavishly on each other's bodies without restriction in celebration of Sri Krishna's birth ceremony. Their wealth was milk, yogurt, butter, and many other products, and by trading their agricultural products they were rich in various kinds of jewelry, ornaments, and costly dresses. Not only did they possess these things, but they could give them away in charity. Krishna Book, Chapter 5. Cow killers are condemned to rot in hellish life for as many thousands of years as there are hairs on the body of the cow. Chaitanya Charitamrita Adilila, 17:106. The bull is the emblem of the eternal moral principle, and the cow is the representative of the earth. When the bull and the cow are in a joyful mood, it is understood that the people of the world are also joyful. The reason is that the bull helps in the production of grains, and the cow delivers milk, the miracle of aggregate food values. Human society, therefore, maintains these two important animals very carefully so that they can wander everywhere in cheerfulness. Srimad Bhagavatam 1:6-19. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "The Brahmins, the cows, and other defenseless creatures are my own body." Srimad Bhagavatam 3:16-10. In the forests of Vrindavan, the cowherd boys pasture the cows while they pick flowers and fruit. They generally make a snack of these fruits, some sweets, drink water, and after chew betel. The boys then assemble and drive the cows home. Thus the assembly of cowherd boys drive the cows forward by shouting, "Hi! Hi!" The atmosphere is pervaded by the profuse sounds of their buffalo horns as well as their golden flutes. The auspicious echoes of the buffalo horns bugling in the forest are mixed with the sounds of kettle drums and many other instruments. The incessant mooing of the cows is like a song of praise for their calves, as if chanting, "Jai, Jai." The thunderous reverberations of this grand procession completely saturate the area of Gokul Mandala, and all of the people living throughout the land glorify them by chanting, "Jai Krishna Balaram, Jai." Srimad Bhagavatam. And when cows are protected, the human father will naturally be a gentle man, satisfied with living simply and working honestly. He'll be a man who works at home and shares in bringing up his children, and that gives a human being a most fortunate start in life. In India, work animals pull more than 14.3 million bullock carts, and even more than what is accomplished by the road. In this modern age, people refer to bullock carts as quaint symbols of the past. In India, however, these animals provide more power than all of our powerhouses, whose installed capacity is some 22,000 milliwatts. Replacing them would entail a further investment of $25 to $40 billion in electricity alone, over and above the loss of the entire farm economy of manure and cheap fuel. Indira Gandhi. A pound of milk, fresh from a cow, is sufficient to feed an adult with all vitamin values, and therefore many saints and sages live only upon milk. Srimad Bhagavatam 1:19-39. Milk is compared to nectar, which one can drink to become immortal. Of course, simply drinking milk will not make one immortal, but it can certainly increase the duration of one's life. In modern civilization, men do not think milk is very important, and thus they do not live for very long. Although in this age man can live up to 100 years, their duration of life is greatly reduced because they do not drink large quantities of sweet milk. Srimad Bhagavatam 8:6-12. Every morning, at approximately 6:30 a.m., Sri Gopal enters Nanda Maharaj's cowshed to milk the transcendental cows. As Krishna calls to each cow, they respond by mooing and immediately surround Krishna. Then Krishna bends down, holding a golden milk pail between his knees, and milks some cows. Krishna directs the cowherd boys to milk other cows, and he lovingly caresses the cows in between milking. Govinda also ensures that each and every calf drinks to its full satisfaction. Govinda Lilamrita, Krishna Das Kaviraj. O great hero, protector of all, if you desire to relieve the living entities by supplying them sufficient grain, and if you desire to nourish them by taking milk from me, you should make arrangements to bring a calf suitable for this purpose, and a good pot in which the milk may be kept, as well as a qualified milkman to do the work. Since I will be very much affectionate towards my calf, your desire to take milk from me will certainly be fulfilled. Srimad Bhagavatam 4:18-10. Seeing a cow milked alongside its calf is an auspicious event. Krishna Book, Chapter 44. What further miracle do you require? Straw eaten by a cow produces milk. Jagannatha Das, 1999. While milking the cow, the boys bound the hind legs with a small rope. This rope almost always hung from the shoulders of the boys and was not absent from the shoulders of Krishna and Balaram. Srimad Bhagavatam, Chapter 21. Krishna's duty was to give cows away in charity to the saintly Brahmins. Sri Krishna used to give away as many as 13,084 cows. Each of them was decorated with a silken cover and pearl necklace, their horns covered with gold plating, and their hooves silver-plated. All of them were full of sweet, creamy milk, due to having their firstborn calves with them, and they were very tame and peaceful. Krishna is generally known as Gobrahman Hahitaka, which means his first obligation is to oversee the welfare of the cows and the Brahmins. Thus he used to give cows in charity to the Brahmins, with opulent decorations and paraphernalia. Thus wishing for the welfare of all living entities, he would touch auspicious articles such as milk, honey, ghee, gold, jewels, and fire. After decorating himself in this way, Krishna would then look at marble statues of the cows and calves. Krishna Book, Chapter 69. During the reign of Maharaj Yudhisthira, the clouds showered all of the water people needed, and the earth produced all of the necessities of man in profusion. The cows used to moisten the pasturing land with milk because their bags were fatty and the animals joyful. Do they not require, therefore, proper protection for a joyful life by being fed with a sufficient quantity of grain in the field? Srimad Bhagavatam 1:10-4.
Radhe 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 Bolo, Radhe Govinda Bolo. 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 Oh, deep blue Lord of my heart, show me your unmasked face, shining like 1,000 suns in an empty sky. Oh, ragged soul, unleash me from the body, free me from mind, release me from the iron grip of the senses, banish me forever from this weary world. Dear Redeemer, I bow to you by the reedy river, see you in the trees, gather you in the harvest, breathe you in the morning breeze. Soul shaker, shake loose my pride, turn me upside down, drown me in your foaming tide. Lord Sri Krishna, smiling cowherd of Vrindavan, allow me entrance into your abode, but only as a speck of dust along your road, or a feather fallen from your proud peacocks, a drop of water in your ocean. Nothing grand may I be, but grand enough to live with thee. Radhe 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 Bolo, Radhe Govinda Bolo. 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 Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Vrnda Devi was a successful vegetarian restaurateur and host of a series of television cooking shows entitled Vrnda's Kitchen. She held an M.A. in culinary arts from the Hindu University in Benares, India. She combined her love and knowledge of food with the study of the Vedic arts and sciences, and her devotion to the perennial philosophy of her celebrated spiritual master, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. A lifelong dedicated animal rights activist, Devi managed a 10-acre cow protection facility, was headmistress at one of North America's only secondary schools based on the tenets of bhakti or devotional yoga, as well as running a free vegetarian food pantry called Dasa Food for All. Miss Devi lived in western New York and UP, India, with her husband and their children and grandchildren. She owned Seven Mothers Natural Foods vegetarian restaurant on Ko Chang Island in Trot Province, Thailand.
We hope you've enjoyed this Icon audio presentation. Icon Audio Arts. Thank you for listening.